So in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about modules of grammar. So in the previous presentations, we were looking at the different types of grammar, the prescriptive grammar, the one that we're not terribly interested in, the mental grammar, which is probably the most interesting in a sense, although it's the hardest to really tackle straight on. And so then we've got descriptive grammar as a way of getting at the mental grammar itself. In this presentation, we're going to be getting a little bit deeper into it. So we talked about these different tests for adequacy, that we want to be able to generate all and only the grammatical sentences of a given language in order for it to be an adequate description, an adequate model of that grammar, of that mental grammar for that language. And then also we want it to mirror the mental grammar. So it should be able to create any sentence that a given native speaker's mental grammar can create. We want our grammar to be able to create that, but not anything that their mental grammar wouldn't accept. So fuck off is good, go fuck off is good, fuck you is good, go fuck you, not good. We don't want our mental grammar, our descriptive grammar to produce that sentence, right? Well, one thing though that we have to be aware of is that really, for all the work that we've done in linguistics and trying to describe English, and I'll pick on English because it's the most described of any language, we still haven't succeeded. It's still not adequate. We're getting there. We're getting better and better at it. But we're still not able to create a grammar, a descriptive grammar, that can produce all and only the grammatical sentences of English. And that even goes more so for any other language. Now, from my point of view, that's not a terrible thing to hear. That means job security. But what it does mean is that language is an incredibly hard thing to get at, to describe. That it is incredibly complex. It's probably the most complex system that any human will acquire. Well, that means that there's a lot of intricacies that we have to get at, and that's why it's so challenging. And for that reason, we usually don't try to describe the entire language all at once. Instead, we tend to try to take bite-sized pieces of it. And that's what we're going to be doing in this class, is we're going to be looking at particular phenomena. A little bit later in the semester, we'll be looking at particular phenomena of English and maybe other languages if we can, and try to figure out what's going on with those phenomena. And so one approach that's often taken is to break the grammar into modules. And that's what we're doing here. So we've got these different modules: phonology, morphology, syntax, and semantics. And so it's often easier to approach it that way, to think in terms of these parts that make up the whole, instead of trying to capture the whole all at once. And it turns out that there's also probably a good theoretical reason for doing this as well. The research seems to show that our mental grammars also seem to break things up into these modules. And so it's not, a purely pragmatic reason that we do this. It's also we have good theoretical founding for doing it. And so what we're going to be doing then in the next few presentations is looking at each one of these modules in turn. So we've got phonology, and we could say that phonology is the study of, and I left study off of all of these. I think you can take that for granted, that anytime you see something like ology, that's the study of. So it's the study of speech sound structure. So it's how words, sentences, utterances in general are composed of these different sound parts, and how those sounds influence each other as they get built up. That's what we're going to be looking at with phonology. The next one that we're going to be looking at is morphology, which is the study of word structure. How we can break words down into their meaningful parts. So no longer looking at the sound structure of words, for example, but rather the meaningful parts that build up the words, kind of the building blocks of words. Syntax is sentence structure. So we're going to be looking at how sentences get built up of words and phrases. And what we're going to see is that you don't just combine all the words together at once. Rather, we build it up piece by piece. Those pieces form chunks. Those chunks then combine together with other chunks to form a bigger chunk, and so on, until we build up to a full sentence. And then the final module is semantics, which we can say is the meaning structure, the study of meaning structure. That now we're trying to understand how words have meaning, how that meaning gets composed and created from smaller parts, in the same way that words are composed of smaller parts, meanings of words are built up as well. And then also how sentences have meaning and how the meanings of the different words combine together to form these more and more complex meanings. So that's our job now, is to try to understand each one of these modules a little bit better. We're going to continue with this, and then later in the semester, this is going to form the foundation for when we start looking at specific phenomenon.